up, y'all? It's your boy Charles on there as well. Tapping in with you guys. Hope you guys having a good evening. Listen, we about to get into Gangsters of Harlem. I did a short reaction to this one before, and we're going to dive back into Gangsters of Harlem, which is a really good book. You can go ahead and check it out on Audible. Go ahead and give me the thumbs up button, and we're going to get into it, and I'm going to come back with my reaction.
The jobbers delivered the goods to local outlets in Harlem and other neighborhoods, such as grocery stores, bars, or diners. Dealers then dispensed the heroin on the street. Running the factories for a night cost Barnes about $170,000 in expenses, but he cleared about $460,000 in profits, all of it in cash. The beauty of the operation from Barnes's perspective was his total removal from it, explained Robert Nieves. We couldn't connect him. The authorities, however, knew what was happening and moved to do something about it. By 1971, the NYPD's intelligence unit identified Barnes as a major narcotics violator and began investigating his growing criminal empire. A special task force within the NYPD was established to investigate Barnes. A little while later, it would include personnel from the DEA, the FBI, and the New York State Police. The task force learned, largely through street informants, that Barnes was a great admirer of the Italian-American organized crime model and that Italian sources were his suppliers. They knew, too, that he had worked out an agreement with Joey Gallo in Greenhaven Prison. Strangely, they received information that the Godfather might have met with teenage heiress Patty Hearst after her kidnapping by the Symbionese Liberation Army.
Oh, really?
All of the attention the authorities were paying to Barnes did not seem to make much difference, even when they tapped the phones in his numerous apartments and put him under surveillance. In the offices of the NYPD's intelligence unit were files as thick as a set of encyclopedias.
Oh, wow.
It is no wonder, then, that the Barnes investigation was codenamed Operation Slick. Barnes was clever, to be
Like some
sure,
70s stuff.
but he also always seemed to keep his cool and had a sense of humor. Given the stakes, this panache drew the grudging admiration of Barnes' investigators, who had never seen a gangster quite like him. Mr. Untouchable. That's what they called him. Was rich, but he was smart too, said a federal narcotics officer to one New York City newspaper in 1975.
You gotta be rich to get. You have to be somewhat smart to get rich some way. I mean, unless you get some kind of inheritance or something, hit the lottery. Them are the only dummies that get money.
The bastard tried to make us cops look like idiots. Mr. Untouchable knew he was being watched, but turned the surveillance into a game. He liked to have his wife, Thelma, drive one of his autos out of the apartment garage while he laid low in the back seat. They would head for the highway toward Brooklyn with the police tailing behind. The couple would speed at up to 100 miles per hour before returning to their apartment. Barnes would have Thelma park the car in front of his apartment. He would get out with a broad smile and then jab his finger in the direction of the surveillance as if to say, "I got your number, boys." While thoroughly pissed off by such escapades, the police figured it would add insult to injury if they gave their target a speeding ticket. In another game, Barnes would leave his apartment, go back in as if he forgot his keys, come out, circle the car several times while peeking coyly in the direction of his surveillance, get in the car, make a dizzying series of turns, and then get out with a smile. Nicky Barnes was having lots of fun being Mr. Untouchable. The authorities acknowledged that Barnes was a formidable adversary, but they also knew that he was bad PR for the forces of law and order. Mr. Untouchable was setting the wrong example for people in Harlem, especially the youngsters.
Yeah, you can't be right here rich and have integrity and you know what I'm saying? How dare you be black and have a backbone?
How to get ahead in life. The people knew about the fruits of his criminality. The hundreds of color-coordinated suits, shoes, and hats. The several apartments maintained in upscale Riverdale. the Bronx, as well as Manhattan and New Jersey. His fleet of luxury autos, including a Mercedes-Benz, a Citroën Maserati, and enough Thunderbirds, Cadillacs, and Lincoln Continentals to launch a car dealership. Barnes's lifestyle had made him a role model with youngsters, and this bothered the authorities. At one point, noted New York City journalist Jimmy Breslin wrote an article about baseball superstar Reggie Jackson of the New York Yankees. Jackson had just hit 3 home runs in one game, the 1977 World Series against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Breslin interviewed a young black kid after the game and asked him if Jackson was one of his heroes, recalled Robert Fisk. The kid said, "Yeah, but my real hero is Nicky Barnes." The kid was too young to know that his hero was a cold-blooded killer. Informants had told authorities what happened to those who crossed the Harlem Godfather. Take the case of Barnes's trusted chauffeur bodyguard, Reginald Isaacs. Isaacs was supposed to have delivered 16 kilos of heroin to a runner for a Detroit drug dealer who had paid $250,000 up front for the load. Isaacs claimed he had been robbed at gunpoint, but Barnes didn't buy it. Police found his body stuffed in the trunk of his Lincoln Continental, parked on Gun Hill Road in the Bronx. 5 days after finding the body, police arrested a man leaving Isaac's apartment with 16 kilos of heroin. Another associate of Barnes's, Stanley Morgan, was believed to have held on to a part of a narcotics cache. He was found dead near a police station with 8 bullet holes in him. Obviously, Mr. Untouchable could be as ruthless as any godfather when he needed to be. In 1973, the NYPD began bringing a slew of charges against Barnes, but for a variety of reasons. Technicalities, shoddy police work, lack of evidence. None of them stuck. In April 1973, police raided an apartment in Manhattan and found what would seem like an overwhelming amount of evidence for a conviction. 5 unreported handguns, hashish under the carport, and $50,000 in cash. The cops found Barnes in the basement and arrested him, but the court ruled that none of the evidence linking Barnes to the upstairs was admissible. Between 1975 and 1977, Barnes beat a federal drug trafficking charge, 2 separate gun possession charges, and a bribery charge from an arrest in the Bronx. Yet working closely with the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York City, DEA agents began a campaign to infiltrate the Barnes syndicate and build an ironclad case against him. In September 1976, authorities received a report that a man in custody on shoplifting charges claimed to know Barnes and others in his organization. The man, a street tough and recent convert to black activism with the unlikely name of Promise Bruce, did not like what Barnes's trafficking network was doing to Harlem. Bruce agreed to work as an informant against the Barnes organization. He would try to set up a heroin buy from a Barnes lieutenant he knew and sell him manite, a sugar-like substance used to cut heroin before it is sold on the streets. 2 months later, the DEA recruited its second informant, Robert Geronimo, a Bronx native who was white but knew several individuals in Barnes's organization.
Here we go.
Geronimo had no experience in the drug trade, so the DEA gave him a handler, Lou Diaz, one of its top undercover agents. The plan was for me to pose as a drug trafficker who was looking to buy some heroin, Diaz recalled. I was to be Geronimo's cousin, a loose cannon, a violent East Coast wise guy. The story was New York got too hot for me, so I had to move to California to chill out. A product of the tough streets of Brooklyn, Diaz was a former Olympic boxer and, above all, a great actor. Diaz and Geronimo headed for the Harlem Auto Leasing Garage, where the DEA knew Barnes's organization made many of its drug deals. Geronimo introduced Diaz to Wally Fisher, the garage manager, and asked Fisher if he could help obtain some heroin for his cousin. Fisher said he would try. A few days later, Geronimo called Diaz to tell him the deal was set. On November 29, 1976, Barnes's associate, Fat Stevie Monsanto, on orders from Barnes himself, sold Diaz 1/8 of a kilogram of heroin, and the investigation had its first piece of solid evidence.
Damn.
Earlier, Diaz had told Fisher that he had contacts that could help him launder money. In December 1976, at the Hubba Hubba Social Club in Harlem,
Hubba hubba.
Barnes asked Fisher whether he and Geronimo could handle a wash, that is, launder some money.
Anyway, y'all, this is Gangsters of Harlem. If y'all wanted to check it out on Audible, really good, man. Really deep stuff, man. I like this book. It gets really detailed and intricate in how this stuff goes down when these people get busted. You know, like how did he, and how can he be so brave? It's funny when you know the police is watching you. Why not just stop? Like I would just get rid of everything that I already, get rid of everything I got. Sell everything. You know what I'm saying? Take all that money and move somewhere and start a business. If you know the police watching you, it's only a matter of time. They're not just watching you for nothing. They watching you because they know what you're doing. And it's a matter of time. They're going to eventually bust you. So if you know that they know, you know that they know that they know that you're doing something to people. Not they, and they watching you now. Okay, you know what? Let me stop. Let me just I'm going to sell everything, sell my house, and just get everything. Just move. Don't cut ties with everybody. Cut your phones off. Move out, stay somewhere, and then take all the money that you got from your drug hustling and start a business or something. You know what I'm saying? Live legit, because you know what I'm saying. If you know they already watching you, it just makes no sense to me why they keep going. You know they watching. Eventually, you're gonna get caught. Anyway, guys, what do y'all think about this Gangsters of Harlem? Go ahead and leave your comments, and if you want to check it out, it's on Audible. And give me a thumbs up and subscribe to Charles on there as well. I appreciate you guys watching my reaction video. Continue to keep watching because I got a lot more coming up. All right, y'all take care.